The International Labour Organization is a United Nations agency whose mandate is to advance social and economic justice through setting international labour standards. Founded in October 1919 under the League of Nations, it is the first and oldest specialized agency of the UN. The ILO has 187 member states. 186 out of 193 UN member states plus the Cook Islands. It is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, with around 40 field offices around the world, and employs some 2,700 staff from over 150 nations, of whom 900 work in technical cooperation programs and projects. The ILO's international labor standards are broadly aimed at ensuring accessible, productive, and sustainable work worldwide in conditions of freedom, equity, security and dignity. They are set forth in 189 conventions and treaties, of which 8 are classified as fundamental according to the 1998 Declaration on Fundamental Principles and Rights at Work. Together they protect freedom of association and the effective recognition of the right to collective bargaining, the elimination of forced or compulsory labor, the abolition of child labor, and the elimination of discrimination in respect of employment and occupation. The ILO is subsequently a major contributor to international labor law. Within the UN system, the organization has a unique tripartite structure. All standards, policies, and programs require discussion and approval from the representatives of governments, employers, and workers. This framework is maintained in the ILO's 3 main bodies. The International Labour Conference, which meets annually to formulate international labor standards. The governing body, which serves as the Executive Council and decides the agency policy and budget. And the International Labour Office, the permanent secretariat that administers the organization and implements activities. The secretariat is led by the Director General, currently Guy Ryder of the United Kingdom, who was elected by the governing body in 2012. In 1969, the ILO received the Nobel Peace Prize for improving fraternity and peace among nations, pursuing decent work and justice for workers, and providing technical assistance to other developing nations. In 2019, the organization convened the Global Commission on the Future of Work, whose report made 10 recommendations for governments to meet the challenges of the 21st century labor environment. These include a universal labor guarantee, social protection from birth to old age, and an entitlement to lifelong learning. With its focus on international development, it is a member of the United Nations Development Group, a coalition of UN organizations aimed at helping meet the Sustainable Development Goals. Unlike other United Nations specialized agencies, the International Labour Organization has a tripartite governing structure that brings together governments, employers, and workers of 187 member states to set labor standards, develop policies and devise programs promoting decent work for all women and men. The structure is intended to ensure the views of all 3 groups are reflected in ILO labor standards, policies, and programs, though governments have twice as many representatives as the other 2 groups. The governing body is the executive body of the International Labour Organization. It meets 3 times a year. In March, June and November, it takes decisions on ILO policy, decides the agenda of the International Labour Conference, adopts the draft program and budget of the organization for submission to the conference, elects the Director General, requests information from the member states concerning labor matters, appoints commissions of inquiry and supervises the work of the International Labour Office. The governing body is composed of 56 titular members and 66 deputy members. India has assumed the chairmanship of the governing body of International Labour Organization in 2020. Apurva Chandra, Secretary, has been elected as the chairperson of the governing body of the International Labour Organization for the period October 2020 to June 2021. 10 of the titular government seats are permanently held by states of chief industrial importance: Brazil, China, France, Germany, India, Italy, Japan, the Russian Federation, the United Kingdom and the United States. The other government members are elected by the conference every 3 years. The employer and worker members are elected in their individual capacity. The current Director General, Guy Ryder, was elected by the ILO governing body in October 2012 and re-elected for a second 5-year term in November 2016. The list of the Directors General of ILO since its establishment in 1919 is as follows. The ILO organizes once a year the International Labour Conference in Geneva to set the broad policies of the ILO, including conventions and recommendations, also known as the International Parliament of Labour. The conference makes decisions about the ILO's GE